Today's video is sponsored by Hit Point Press and their September Big Bad Alchemic Rex, a mimic dragon resurrected by its kobold cultists. Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Horned One Patron Warlock, autumn themed, and we just had the equinox, so keep it on.
That wasn't even planned.
Yeah,
It just kind of happened that way.
But it might be planned now, so
Yeah.
wait for winter solstice. Maybe we'll have the next one.
I mean,
there are 4 seasons to these.
We could plan for the future. We just happened to happy accident the first one.
If you're new to the channel, what we're going to do is go through the abilities gained in the subclass. We're going to rate the roleplay, combat, and synergy based on the abilities gained in the subclass, how they improve the base class.
Yep.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Players Bundle
Free
giveaway.
stuff is wonderful.
That being said, let's just jump straight into it.
Okay, as we do normally with Warlock subclasses, I tell Jameson to cover his ears because the first problem you run into with Warlocks is an expanded spell list. They are not free spells you get that don't count against your spells known. It's more spells to pick from. Goodberry, Hunter's Mark, Pass Without Trace, Silence, Non-Detection, Phantom Steed, Freedom of Movement, Locate Creature, Mislead, and Tree Stride. A very interesting list of spells that feels very huntery, druidy for sure. Counterpoint to the spell list is, but you're a Warlock.
That comes up every single time we review a Warlock subclass.
Yeah.
You're like, good spell list, but you're a Warlock.
But you're a Warlock. So the other main ability you're going to have first level is the Horned Hunter. Gain proficiency with martial weapons and the stealth skill. And you can use ranged weapons as a spell casting focus for your Warlock spells. In addition, you learn the Eldritch Blast cantrip, which it does not count against the number of Warlock cantrips you know. Normally, you're a Warlock, you're taking it anyway, so this allows you to pick something else. Primarily RP stuff, it's going to be your primary combat cantrip anyway, and there's even more reason for it as I keep reading here. When you cast Eldritch Blast, you can make each beam you create with the cantrip take the form of an arrow, without the need for verbal and somatic components, and immediately fire this arrow from a short bow, longbow, light crossbow, or heavy crossbow you are wielding. When used in this way, any benefits the weapon may confer to normal ammunition also applies to the magic arrows. So if you have a +1 longbow or +1 whatever of those ranged weapons listed, you do get a +1 bonus to your attack and damage rolls for the Eldritch Blast cantrip. Weapon may also be used spellcasting focus for all your other Warlock spells, but it only grants the bonus to the Eldritch Blast cantrip. So if you're throwing whatever other spells you're casting as Warlock, they don't get bonuses to chance to hit with those. It's just for the cantrip.
It kind of makes me think of like the Arcane Archer Fighter.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that theme, but with Warlock.
Yes, and with your Eldritch Blast cantrip instead of arrows.
Yes. Level 6, we get Blessing of the Hunt. Each time you kill a creature with a CR of 1 or higher, which is important, your melee and ranged attacks deal an extra 1d4 damage for the next 10 minutes. Additionally, after killing a creature with a CR of 1 or higher, you no longer have to eat or drink that day. So nice little extra damage and a little bit of RP on there too.
Yes.
Level 10, we have Territory of the Harrier. As an action, you can declare a number of 5-foot square spaces on the ground equal to your Constitution modifier to be trapped. Each trapped space must be within 30 feet of you and cannot be farther than 10 feet apart from another trapped space. The first time a creature enters a trapped space, it must make a Dex saving throw against your spell save DC as spectral claws and thorns burst from the ground. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d10 force damage, and its walking speed is halved for 1 minute. On a success, it takes half as much, and speed is not reduced. Space remains trapped until it is triggered. You regain uses of this feature. You use this feature again, or 8 hours pass. You can use this feature 3 times and regain all uses when you finish a short or long rest. So, definitely some implications for that in the rating portion.
Yeah. And finally, at 14, we have the Autumn Feast. Beginning at 14th level, you score a critical hit with an attack from the Eldritch Blast cantrip on a roll of a 19 or a 20 on the d20. Additionally, when you score a critical hit against a creature, you regain a number of hit points equal to your level. So your crit chance with Eldritch Blast is doubled. You get to give yourself some healing when you do get the crit. So
and it is your level, not your Warlock level. So if you did decide to multi-class,
there's no you won't lose out on that if you got to 14, got this ability, and decided you wanted to dip somewhere else, like Ranger or
Fighter,
Fighter,
action surge.
Yeah, whatever you wanted to dip into, it's all there.
Yeah. So all that being said, those are the abilities gained in the subclass. So let's move into the rating portion. First up is the roleplay asterisk, as always. And talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background, that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass, how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. So looking at this subclass on here, again, you have some good spell options, but you're a warlock.
But you're a warlock. Golly.
But there's another but coming on to this but, because there's more buts.
That's too many buts.
The difference with this warlock in comparison to other warlocks is that because you're focusing more on Eldritch Blast, you get it for free. You're getting some buffs to it.
More than you already do as being a warlock.
You get it for free. You can channel it through like magical weapons, which typically you wouldn't really think much of as a warlock.
Yeah.
Usually you're looking like, wands or robes or, jewelry kind of thing as a warlock, just because you're not going to be using hacking and slashing unless you kind of fall in that hexblade category.
That's right.
So with that side of things, you do have a nice little niche, which is getting the extra cantrip instead of Eldritch Blast, like Alex was saying.
Yeah.
So you get to choose 2 other cantrips because you basically get your damage one for free. So that opens you up to take something like Prestidigitation, for example.
Yep.
So with that, and the fact that you're going to be focusing more on channeling through a weapon, it kind of leaves the spell slots a little bit more open for you to take something like a Tree Stride, which could be really solid to get back on a short rest, because even at higher levels, other casters don't get back 5th level spell slots that often. So that's going to let you have some utility to travel a lot in a short period of time in a day. Because all you have to do is take a short rest, and you can go somewhere else. Obviously, there has to be trees related to this, but it's the open world. There's going to be trees around.
So yeah, pretty much.
But that does give you some extra unique options that kind of open up, giving you some more travel kind of spells for a warlock. The stealth stuff is, you're never going to be upset about having stealth. And also, on top of it, you're not having to do verbal or somatic components to the Eldritch Blast, so it lets you be a little bit more sneaky with that. And then, there's a little bit with the nicheness of not needing to eat or drink after a kill for the day. Thematically, it's great, but not every campaign and DM is going to really track rations and things like that. So that's kind of dependent.
Yeah.
And the traps, too, can come into play, because it is, a decent amount of damage. It's force damage and it's 2d10, so it's going to hurt something a little bit. So whenever you deal damage, it kind of treads that line of potentially turning into combat.
Right.
But that extra, halved movement for a minute could come into play in certain circumstances. Like, as always, chases. It comes up with that. Especially if you're running down, like, a narrow alleyway and you just do, like, a line of these things.
Yeah.
One of them is going to, hit the thing.
Yep.
So, definitely interesting with that. All that being said, we just went with a 2.5 out of 5. There's some interesting options, but a lot of it falls more on the niche category than
I thought you were going to go with But You're a Warlock.
That too. Yes.
It was way too easy there. On the combat side of things, definitely a higher focus there, because again, your whole first and last abilities do nothing but give you combat, and you're a warlock. You're going to be using Eldritch Blast anyway. Agonizing Blast is almost a have to take it, but you're going to. Let's be real with each other here.
Why not?
You're going to take it. This even just makes it all the better. Especially if you can find any kind of a ranged weapon that is a +1, or heaven forbid a +2 or a +3 bow of sorts that you can be firing Eldritch Blast. Those are going to start hurting, and they're going to hit all the time. So instead of having that just high floor damage because it's 4 separate attacks, those are going to start hurting a ton because of the extra damage with each one of those individual bolts getting that modifier on there.
Right.
It's going to start hurting a ton, and you're not having to spend your spell slots to do good damage every turn. You can save those for your concentration spells and your big AoE stuff.
You just become more Eldritch Blast the class.
Pretty much, yeah. That's kind of one of the rolling memes for Warlock in general is you are Eldritch Blast the class. But this, instead of Eldritch Blast the class, I guess you are Eldritch Blast the master class.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's basically what this is and what it feels like. The one thing on the Blessing of the Hunt that does not clarify, and I'm curious to see what this is if we do have to get the killing blow or not.
Yeah, it is a little gray there because each time you kill a creature, but
right. It doesn't say.
Some people might be more sticklers and say you have to have the killing blow, and other people be, if your DM is more open to you contributing to the kill.
Yeah, that's the
assists count.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, am I a support player? Do I get credit for my assist kind of thing? But either way, even if it takes you get the killing blow, if you know there's smaller monsters out there, you can focus on those first to try to knock them down because your Eldritch Blast is gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Especially if you take Hunter's Mark or Hex, and those again, you're gonna get so much of a high floor damage with the way this is designed. The traps definitely have use in combat for sure because it takes an action to drop them, but especially if you can prep it ahead of combat, if you know something's coming for you, you can lay them up because the damage is fine. It's 2d10 force damage. It's not costing you any other additional resource spell slots to do. But the bigger thing to me is cutting the movement speed down.
Absolutely.
Because then if something's trying to run you down and they're not very smart and you drop it right in front of them, they have to run at you, then you can just kite them for forever because they can't ever catch you unless they have some kind of a teleportation or they choose to dash at you or anything like that.
Or if they have like a flying speed. Because it does say only they're walking.
This is correct.
It's like a hamstring.
Pretty much. And of course, the final ability, giving you an extra chance to crit with your Eldritch Blast, is always going to feel good. And in fact, it's going to let you heal your class level. Again, like Jameson said, it's not just your class level, your player level, not just your class level.
Right.
So if you do decide to dip into another class or multi-class, you're going to get good value out of that the whole way through. However, but you're a warlock, so like the bonus spells you're getting, you can't cast all the time because you don't have that many spell slots. The gray area on the killing blow thing does hamper it a little bit. The traps have a use, but they're not covering very much space. They don't do a ton of damage, but there's a use for it. So a lot of your reliable greatness that comes from this class is the just straight up buff to Eldritch Blast, and then that extra crit chance and healing you get from 14 with Autumn Feast. We went with a 3.5 out of possible 5. Again, I love the flavor here. There's definitely some interesting and creative things you can do, and it makes Eldritch Blast even better because you'll be using it anyway. But there are some limitations as to what else you're doing as far as number of uses or relying on crits to give you some health back that's only going to happen on a 10% chance.
Yeah, all that being said, we'll just kind of switch over into synergy because some of my comments will kind of overlap with that. So again, with being a warlock, Eldritch Blast is, it's the cornerstone of the entire class. Whether you play this subclass or another one, it really is. The only exception really is something like a Hexblade because, again, it kind of goes outside of the norm with that. But otherwise, really, you are going to rely heavily on Eldritch Blast. And this doubles down on that fact, which can be really nice because it is a big feature, especially when you have your invocations that buff it as well. That can come into play. And it lets you play, again, more of like an alternative option to a ranger because you kind of get some spell slots like a ranger has. You get them back on short rest, but you don't have as many, but they're higher level. So
and you have high floor damage, which is what the most appealing thing about a ranger is.
It's like if you like a warlock and you're on the fence about playing a ranger, so it kind of lets you get the feel of that, but both worlds. Yes. So that is nice. And then again, just having extra utility. The traps, again, they're small, right? It's only 5 foot squares, so they have to pretty much walk directly on top of it. There's not a radius to trigger around it, so that can, it can come into play. If you're clever, you can maybe make it work better or more effectively. But just giving a little bit extra, raising that floor damage onto the biggest feature of being a warlock, never is a bad thing.
No.
So that being said, we gave it a 4 out of 5 on the synergy. It has that nice little buff bonus, and again, too, it helps you have a little bit more options at even the first level to pick a different cantrip for alternative options or circumstances, or roleplay.
Because again, it's leaning into helping you do what you're going to be doing anyway, and it's not going to cost you anything else. It's basically making it free in terms of giving you the cantrips you're already going to be taking. That always feels nice. Yeah,
honestly, the Warlock base class should say you get Eldritch Blast and one other cantrip, because if you don't take Eldritch Blast as a Warlock, I don't know what you're
just
do.
Trying to be different. Which again, and if that's you, that's fine.
There's always the Hexblade.
There
is that. So that's kind of like the exception.
But you still take Eldritch Blast.
Because
you want the range option.
Right. So, there is that. So, very interesting, very thematic, flavorful. I like the concept of having like a hunter, druidy, ranger feeling kind of warlock, because it's more, out there than what you typically would get.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we'll just keep it short and sweet there, so we'll wrap it up. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. Check out our sponsors in the link down below.
Yes.
And as always, guys,
Thanks for watching.
thanks for our sponsors, Hit Point Press. Check out their big bad bundles. Unique, cool monsters, history, lore, everything you need to throw these villains into your campaigns.
And it's a great way to get around your players that like to metagame, or if they do it accidentally, like I tend to do at times. Maybe they think they know what this monster is by the description. They can create some fun opportunities and unique things to throw at even your most experienced players would not see coming.
So check out the link in the description down below.